Yep, it's that time once again. Get out there and do your Christmas shopping, and we'll talk with someone who would maybe help you spend your conservative dollar wisely. And hopefully this will be a pretty informative interview for everyone who care to know where their money goes when they spend it at these retailers. So we'll speak with them. We'll get that interview shortly. And I guess we'll talk about some other things as well. Hit on something maybe about, Senator Franken has decided to resign today. I guess we'll talk a little bit about that for probably a short second. So anyway, all that, maybe a little bit more on this episode of Trend Chat. Welcome to another episode of Trend Chat. I'm your host, Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us, whether on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, it's all the same name, Trend Chat 24/7. And if you want to read some of my articles from Politichicks, just go to politichicks.com/author/Brian Bledsoe. And as I mentioned about Christmas shopping, I guess make sure you get the book Politichicks: A Clearing Call to Political Activism, which is available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. So, first off, I do want to mention, before I get to anything, quickly, given that today is December 7th, definitely want to remember what happened on Pearl Harbor, and just wanted to bring it up for, hopefully you've already known about that today, and just wanted to make sure I mention it in case maybe you have forgotten, but don't forget. And with the attack that happened on Pearl Harbor, which basically brought the United States into World War II, and I just want to touch on that just to make sure that is mentioned. Now, like I said, we're going to talk with someone with the organization called Second Vote, that is basically a conservative watchdog of retailers. And we're going to have a pretty extensive interview with him, and just to break down what these retailers, where they're sending their money to different liberal causes, and just to let you know and give you an idea of what these corporations are doing. So before we get to that, I actually have been kind of delaying recording today because I was kind of waiting for the Supreme Court case with the Christian Baker, waiting for the ruling on that to come down. So now as I'm speaking, it may be going on right now. The news may have just hit, or it may happen on tomorrow or next week. I don't know. But this is a pretty monumental case. It's definitely going to set a precedent at this point, because if you don't know, you had this Christian baker who refused to make a cake for this gay couple, basically. And here we are. It's pretty basic how that went down. And now the Supreme Court is going to rule whether he was within his right to refuse to bake that cake. So that's definitely going to be, this decision is definitely going to come down. I guess, I'm trying to wonder as far as which justice will be the swing vote, even though Justice Anthony Kennedy tends to be the swing vote all the time. So I think we'll be looking to see which justice went where, and kind of just I guess it's somewhat nervous in a way, just because you don't know where this is going to go and the aftermath of it afterwards. Because if it goes against Christian Baker, then I can only imagine how far they're going to take that decision and then basically impose their agenda even further. So yeah, so it definitely is something, just wondering what's gonna how this all gonna shake out. So now, also today, Senator Al Franken resigned from the Senate, and I actually don't have much to say about that. I mean, given he did it because of all the sexual allegations. Now, I know I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I was saying that at that time, I didn't think he should resign, because at the time I was saying that there was only one allegation, and like I said, there wasn't a pattern. Even still, we got even more allegations in the past couple of weeks, and it's just basically just become too much, to the point to where now he just decided to resign. So, it's I still kind of feel the same way, whether we're talking about Al Franken or Roy Moore or anyone else, that we are still talking about allegations, and I honestly don't feel comfortable in vilifying someone based off of just allegations. I don't know any other way as far as really getting to the truth of all these allegations. I mean, regardless of who we're talking about, but just for me, it's just really uncomfortable. I don't, whether we're talking about a man, having allegations on him for sexual misconduct, or anyone, even if it's a woman just being accused of doing not even something sexual, just anything, just people who are being accused, and that's all it takes for them to have their lives just totally uprooted, and that's regardless of the crime. So I'm not in a celebratory mood about it, even though I definitely don't agree with anything with Al Franken. Honestly, I'm surprised that he even was elected, but this is the same state that elected Jesse Ventura for governor. So, and hey, that's that state's right. If that's what the people of Minnesota want as their representative, as a senator, well, that's on the people of Minnesota. So, but just this whole environment, this whole basically new normal in a way, I guess, of how we're basically living in the kind of like the court of public opinion, and the court of public opinion is basically superseding the court of law and due process and fairness. I don't see this stopping. I mean, look, the Time Person of the Year is the hashtag Me Too movement. So I don't see this changing. And I know some probably maybe listen to this and like want to construe this as me being, anti-woman or whatever, which is not the case at all. Just I am not comfortable as far as throwing someone's life away based off of allegation. I need some investigation. I need some, you say some facts. I mean, my thing is that like I said, I guess I just can't stop saying the word uncomfortable. Just uncomfortable feeling of having to where if you create this sort of precedent that if people know that that's all they need to do to destroy a person, then what's going to stop them from doing it? So, and I just see how easy that kind of, to have that sort of power in a way where someone knows that all I got to do is just say that you did it and get in front of some cameras and you're done. That is scary, regardless if you did it or not. So, anyway, before we get to our interview with Robert, let's hear from our friends from the Founding Project.
Hello, Trend Chat listeners. If you like the Founding Project's Civics Education video series, Civics for All Ages, and our educational meme series, we think you will love our new website. Join us at thefoundingproject.com and be a part of the civics movement. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
Yep, man. Before we get to Robert with Second Vote, here's one other thing I was thinking about is I can't say everyone, but I've been seeing this this trend on Trend Chat, but this very popular trend of Bitcoin, which is like going through the roof, and like right now it's worth like 18,000. I guess a coin. I don't know anything about Bitcoin, but I've just been hearing about it. And I know some people want to say it's a bubble, believe in it. And they're like, well, this is the future and whatnot. I don't know. I'm just noticing from what I'm seeing. And the only thing for me at this point, I just regret not buying some Bitcoin back when it was 28 cents. Man, I mean, that's one of those deals where you wish you had a time machine like Back to the Future or something. Tell yourself in the past, like, hey, you might want to get some of that Bitcoin. Just right now, if you had Bitcoin now and you could sell it now. I know I'm the type of person. Then again, I know me. If I would have bought Bitcoin at 28 cents, I probably would have cashed it in back at when it was like 9,000. I know me. I don't hold on. I'm not going to hold on to it too long. If I saw that I made basically 9,000% increase of my investment, I would have probably already cashed out now, which I've been perfectly fine with it too, because it's not like I lost money. I made money on this investment, but that's just me. Now, like I said, right now, I think it's at like 18,000. So who knows where it's going to go. I'm not thinking about getting into it now. For one, I don't have the money. I know y'all hear me on this podcast and thinking I'm doing this in a mansion somewhere. Trust me, I'm not. Maybe, if you tell your friends and family to listen to Trend Chat on Google Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, if more people listen, maybe I might do this from a mansion. But until then, like I said, tell your friends and family to listen to Trend Chat. Please. Then I can, maybe I can buy some Bitcoin. So, but yeah, I just want to mention that. And, right now, I'm going to go to our interview with Robert Kuykendall with Second Vote. And without further ado, here's our interview. Hello, this is Trend Chat, and we are pleased to have the Director of Communication with Second Vote, Robert Kuykendall. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thank you for having me on your podcast today.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring you on, especially right now, giving up on Christmas shopping. And Second Vote has put out a list for a couple of years, kind of the naughty or nice list, and it kind of help conservative consumers as far as knowing where to go and as far as what these all the retailers, where they spend their money after you spent it at their stores. And I'm going to get into that, but one of the first things I want to ask for people who don't know is, what is Second Vote?
Well, Brian, Second Vote is the conservative watchdog for corporate activism. We're a new organization. We launched just over 5 years ago, and we were developed to educate conservative consumers, like you said, on what corporations were doing with their profits. A company doesn't have any dollars to spend. It doesn't have any profit, but doesn't have any dollars to spend on advertising or charitable donations, which is what we look at, if the dollars don't come from the consumers first. So there's a direct connection between your dollars and what a company does with it, especially when a corporation uses those dollars to engage in political advocacy or support an organization that takes stands on various issues. And when a company is active, when they support a nonprofit, when they funnel dollars to an organization that wants to promote a certain policy position, it all goes back to how are the dollars being used that come from the consumers in the first place. And the reason we call ourselves Second Vote is because every election year, we go to the ballots and we vote based on our values, especially as conservatives. We say our values mean something, and we support the politicians and the policies that reflect our values. And we don't think about it every day, but if we're also funding a charity, a nonprofit, or even a corporation that is taking a stand on an issue, we're still funding that advocacy that may support our values. It may actually go against our values. And what Second Vote has found that, unfortunately, in the world of big business, the major corporations really aren't aligning with our values, with our conservative values on a lot of issues. So that's why Second Vote was founded, to be a resource for conservative consumers to know what your dollars would actually be funding on issues like life, marriage, the Second Amendment, immigration, education, religious liberty, and so on. And we positioned ourselves to really be the resource for conservatives to come and find out what companies are doing with their dollars.
And how did Second Vote just come about? What was the genesis of Second Vote?
Well, our founder, Dr. David Black, was a businessman here in Nashville, Tennessee, and he was at a grocery store. Companies, retailers, they're always asking you, do you want to donate to this cause? Do you want to donate to this organization when you're checking out, $1 here, $1 there? And he asked, the cashier at the grocery store asked if he would like to donate a few dollars to the March of Dimes. And so he said, yeah, and you've been there before where you're checking out. It's really easy. You just press donate $1, donate $20. Everyone's seen this when you're checking out, but he donated a little bit of money to the March of Dimes. As he walked out, his wife says, well, why did you do that? He said, what do you mean? I've always supported the March of Dimes. They help children. They do good things. And she says, well, I just heard that the March of Dimes gives money to Planned Parenthood. Now, Dr. Black, our chairman and founder, and his wife, they are some of the most pro-life people I've ever met. They believe that life begins at conception, that every life is unique and deserves to be protected. And he said, well, I didn't know this. So he did a little bit of research on the internet and found you could actually document where March of Dimes chapters had been donating money to Planned Parenthood. So there was this eureka moment of saying, well, if I'm politically connected, I pay attention to these issues, but if I don't know March of Dimes is donating to Planned Parenthood, and I didn't realize that this grocery store, this giant corporation, is facilitating donations to March of Dimes, which eventually end up with Planned Parenthood, what are the other companies doing? So that was the inspiration for creating this amount of research, which is what became Second Vote. And we now have over 700 companies in an online database at secondvote.com, where anyone can come. The research is free. Anyone can come and look at our research and say, this is why this company is a liberal company or a conservative company or a neutral company, because we study, are these companies making donations to Planned Parenthood, or are they making donations to the March of Dimes, and then those donations going to Planned Parenthood? But it's not just a life issue. It's marriage. It's the Second Amendment. It's immigration. Are these companies funding charities that eventually give money to advocacy groups that lobby for sanctuary cities? So you could actually follow the dollars, and all of our research is documented, but it's really a massive online shopping guide for conservatives to say, here's how a company shares my values, or here's how my company engages in activity that don't align with my values.
Okay. And kind of what I mentioned during the Christmas season, that Second Vote put out a naughty or nice list. And I guess I know for one, it's a pretty big list ranging from the best, to the middle and to the worst. I guess kind of give who are the best, I guess you would say the nice list, and who are on the naughty list. And in that, how do you score the companies for them to be on the list?
Right. Well, Christmas shopping season, which really gets underway right after Thanksgiving. These very few weeks are when most of these retailers are going to do over a third of their annual business. So it's a critical time in the retail industry. And we want to focus on this time of year because if we want these corporations and these retailers, say Target, for example, to stop engaging in political advocacy, we want to use the influence of our dollars, our shopping dollars, to engage them and hold them accountable. So this is really the time of year for conservatives to really be focusing on how they can affect change at these companies. So that's why we wanted to say, here's the Christmas shopping list. You're all across the country, Americans are shopping for Christmas, going to these retailers. And so we've designed this campaign to be getting on social media and engaging people to think about what their dollars are funding. So that's why we put out the naughty and nice list. Who are the best retailers for your conservative dollars, and who are the retailers that you might not realize are doing things that you wouldn't necessarily agree with based on your values. Of course, one of our top companies of all time has always been Hobby Lobby. And Hobby Lobby is a company that's been in the news a lot because they've basically made a very strong stand on some issues that conservatives agree with. And you may remember Hobby Lobby took a case to the Supreme Court challenging Obamacare to say we don't want to provide what we consider to be abortifacient drugs because that violates our deeply held religious convictions. And the owners of Hobby Lobby, they're adamantly pro-life. They also have partnered with the Salvation Army, which is a pro-life organization. And so they took their case to the Supreme Court and said, we don't think we should be forced by the government to provide what we consider to be abortifacient, A, because of our pro-life values, but B, this became a religious liberty issue as well. And Hobby Lobby really carried the banner for corporations to say the government can't force a company to violate our deeply held religious beliefs, and they won. And so Hobby Lobby has really been a standard bearer. They're one of the best rated companies in our database. We consider themselves conservative because of what they've done in their legal battle, but also because of their corporate support for the Salvation Army. So Hobby Lobby, it's especially for decorations, for do-it-yourself type gifts, that would be an ideal location for a conservative to go do their Christmas shopping. On the other side of that would be Cabela's. Cabela's is our number 2 nice company, and Cabela's has partnered with the National Rifle Association. It's an organization that supports Second Amendment rights. So Cabela's is using a portion of their revenues to support an organization that supports the Second Amendment, and we think that's a good thing. So Cabela's would be another place for the outdoorsman in your family, for a conservative to go do your shopping there, because Cabela's at the end of the day is also supporting advocacy that supports the Second Amendment.
Now, in looking at the Second Vote, they're broken down in different issues. So you have whether for Second Amendment or whether for life or actually I've forgotten all the categories, but they're all scored on all the different categories of different issues, correct?
Right. That's correct. We look at each issue fairly independently. It's the Second Amendment, the environmental issues, marriage, life, education, immigration, religious liberty. And, for people to go to our website, they can really dig down into the details of what those issues mean. But you and I could sit here and agree on most of the time when we say a person or a corporation is supporting advocacy for the Second Amendment. We understand people that want to undermine the Second Amendment. We will understand people that want to uphold the Second Amendment. So that's fairly cut and dry. When we look at environmental issues, there's a lot of companies that have supported organizations like the Sierra Club, the World Wildlife Fund, who are actively lobbying for cap and trade type policies. So we focus really on how does the corporate money affect a policy battle, or how does it support a certain policy? It's not just are they green. Of course, everybody's green. Everyone thinks we shouldn't damage the environment, but we want to see, are these companies engaging in actual policy issue debates? Another thing we would look at on environmental issues is, are these companies supporting the Paris climate agreement? You had several hundred companies come out and say, even though President Trump is going to be pulling the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement, we still want to support it. So they're making a political statement on where they stand on that issue and engaging in the political process. So that's what the things we look at in the environment. Marriage. Does a company support traditional marriage, or do they support same-sex marriage? Life. Are they pro-life? Are they pro-abortion? Education. Does a company support school choice? Does a company support Common Core? Does a company oppose Common Core? Immigration. Where do they stand on sanctuary cities? And then religious liberty is something that's been a very big issue in the last few years, because we talk about these so-called bathroom bills and LGBT discrimination. Well, a lot of these so-called bathroom bills come from what we call sexual orientation and gender identity accommodation mandate. And if you really read between the lines, these municipalities and states are effectively saying a company can't run its own a business owner can't run its own business according to his personal values on the definition of marriage or the definition of what makes a man or a woman. So it goes beyond what the media tries to compartmentalize in this bathroom bill debate, and really becomes a religious liberty issue for business owners, and in some cases, churches. How do the Religious Freedom Restoration Acts apply to them? What companies are supporting advocacy against those RFRA laws? So those are the things we look at on each individual issue, and try to create a picture of, does this company tend to lean to the left, or does it tend to lean to the right when it comes to these issues? And frankly, we support the idea that companies should be neutral. And so a company gets a 3 where they don't advocate on any issue. They don't stand for or against. They just do business. Makes them a neutral company. We think that's a great place for a company to be. It's not going to offend anybody. It's not going to take my dollars to support issue advocacy that doesn't align with my values.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about, as far as some of these companies you will go to, I feel like that a lot of them just kind of want to be hidden when they're making these donations, and that's another great thing about Second Vote, as far as shining that light on those that are trying to sneak around and to basically take conservative dollars and then use it to give to liberal causes. And yeah, I really appreciate what y'all doing with that part. So I also had kind of have 2 questions, and like, are there specific types of companies that you cannot or will not score, and can people request a company to be scored and added to the site?
I would. We don't have maybe a restriction on what we really look into. Of course, we want to look into where people can go vote with their wallet and with their feet. So it makes we focus a lot on retail outlets. Is this a place a conservative might go to spend dollars, whether it's shopping or whether it's even going out to eat in a restaurant? So we focus a lot on brick and mortar type of companies, but there's a lot of different types of corporations. Some that you wouldn't necessarily think about when it comes to spending your dollars on through your daily purchase, or maybe if you're a small business owner, who would you be contracting with? For example, a couple of years ago when they had the so-called bathroom bill controversy in North Carolina, especially over HB2, and you saw all these tech companies say they were going to boycott North Carolina because frankly the legislature introduced some common sense protections for public restrooms in the state. Well, PayPal, the company that has does these payment processors online and develop technology for credit card use online, they say, well, we're canceling our multi-million-dollar development project in Charlotte. We're going to boycott North Carolina. We're going to punish North Carolina. And so Second Vote went out and said, who is the alternative to PayPal? Well, we found a small company called ProPay. It's based in Utah. Its parent company is based in Columbus, Georgia. And again, this was another company. Their main charitable partnership was with the Salvation Army. They didn't really get involved in any type of political debate. They weren't out there virtue signaling about every issue that came up. And we said, this ProPay company makes a great alternative to PayPal. So those are the things we want to look at. You're not going to the PayPal offices to do business on a daily basis, but if you're selling products online and using credit card processors, as a conservative, you might want to say, I'd rather use this company that stands close to my values than PayPal, who's using a misinformation campaign to bully North Carolina over introducing just common sense protections about if men can go into a women's bathroom or not. So those are the things we try to look at in addition to retailers.
Okay. And can people request the company to be scored on the site?
They can, and of course we have to kind of look at everything in the big picture. We certainly have had individuals come before us and put together some requests. There's one company that we had a request for a while back during the campaign season called the Pizza Ranch. It's a small chain of pizza restaurants in Iowa and the Midwest. The cool thing about the Pizza Ranch is every 4 years it ends up in the news because so many candidates use their locations when they're running for president in Iowa because they have meeting places in small towns when they're getting ready for the caucuses. So we looked at Pizza Ranch due to a request and found out this was a neutral company, which scores a little bit better than Pizza Hut. So we said, hey, Pizza Ranch, if you're in the Midwest and want to have a dine-in pizza or carry-out, go look at Pizza Ranch. And it actually is kind of cool to look at because of so many politicians using the Pizza Ranch locations to get their campaign started if they're considering running for president.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Brian, to continue that point, we would also invite people who would be curious about those companies and submitting a request to go to secondvote.com and use the contact function. They can email us at info@secondvote.com or follow us on Facebook and use Facebook or Twitter to interact and reach out and just say, hey, I had an idea. I wanted to see what y'all are able to find on this company, and we want to make sure we're continuing to build our research. We're always bringing on new corporations, new research, and we have a weekly newsletter that comes out every weekend. They can sign up for our newsletter, and that includes an update of here are the new companies we've added this week, or maybe these are the companies that we've updated their score. We tell people this is the last time we saw this information. We updated it on this date. We want to keep an up-to-date record going of where these companies stand and hopefully start to see where these companies are starting to change their policies or saying, at the end of the day, we don't want to be involved in the politics. We just want to do business. And Second Vote and our people want to engage those corporations and support them for making that decision to stay out of the political debates. Okay,
and so if people do have information about a company that maybe feel like it's there's something that's not updated, they can just send an email to info@secondvote.com.
They can go to info@secondvote.com. They can also go on our website, and there is there's a portal for being able to make a few requests. And then, like I said, also on Facebook and Twitter. They can go on and directly contact us, and we can. We've like I said, several times we've added information on companies due to request, and And sometimes our followers have had some great insight. And that's really what Second Vote is about. We a lot of times you see boycotts for various reasons of this corporation or that corporation, and they come from the left or the right. We want to make sure first we're holding companies accountable for their activism and say, hey, we're the watchdog. We're out here telling people what you're doing with your revenues that came from your customers in the first place. And then we want to facilitate engagement. We want conservatives to get used to the practice of engaging a company for that activism. The other side, the left, you'll see it on TV. They always get so much press coverage from the media who says, look at all these people, whether they're protesting or marching. And conservatives, they'll go in droves to Chick-fil-A, and you'll never hear a peep out of the media about how conservatives are actually participating in the process. But we want to get conservatives, we want to give them practice. We want to facilitate the ability for them to regularly engage companies for their activism. We also, on all of our score pages, 700 companies, we've included links to be able to email the CEO or the board of directors or the press department, the media department at all these companies. They can use our website, click the link, send an email, or go to the comments page and be able to tell a company like, say, Target or Bank of America, who's one of the most liberal companies in the country, please stop funding these left-wing causes and please stop taking stands on these policies, or I'm going to take my business somewhere else. Or you could also tell them, give a positive message, like, if you stay out of the politics, Target, if you stop promoting the left's agenda, we're going to return and do more business with you. So it goes both ways, but that's why I would encourage people to come to our website, secondvote.com, and look around and see the resources and the tools we've provided. We've got a list under our featured research of all the United Way chapters in the country, and have documented which United Way chapters have donated to Planned Parenthood. So it's Christmas season. People make a lot of charitable donations. United Way usually has big fundraising drives. If you don't want your United Way donations to go to Planned Parenthood, you can come to Second Vote and see our research on which United Way chapters give to Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in the beginning, everyone that's listening to check out the Naughty or Nice list on secondvote.com. And also, I think it's only right to have a resource like Second Vote, because the media definitely has no problem in castigating Hobby Lobby, Chick-fil-A on or where they stand on issues. So I think you definitely should have people who are out there, giving a voice to those liberal companies out there making their contributions to liberal causes as well.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. And we don't have to be angry about it. We can be nice about it. We want to love these people too. But that's where I think Second Vote really has a unique place for conservatives. Is first and foremost, we're a resource for being able to engage the companies on these stands, and we're seeing some results. And the Chick-fil-A example is great, because what people don't realize is Chick-fil-A is the highest revenuing fast food chain in the country per unit. An average Chick-fil-A restaurant brings in almost twice as much as McDonald's, and you don't hear a lot about that. But people, frankly, want to go to Chick-fil-A because it has good food. Secondly, there's great service at Chick-fil-A. But I believe that there's a lot of people who have said, I really like the fact that this company has reflected my values on some very important issues. And so it's that silent majority. You don't hear them protesting in the streets, but my gosh, they're spending their dollars supporting their values, and we want to grow from that. We want to build a bigger movement of conservatives holding companies accountable, and again, bring those companies back to neutral, where they're not going to be using our dollars to support the causes, the agenda, the organizations that don't align with our values.
So, if people that's been listening, they definitely have heard about the website, secondvote.com. And so also tell everyone where they can see Second Vote whether it's social media, and also I know personally because I use the app all the time, and I guess give a little more about the Second Vote app as well.
Yeah, the app is a great resource too. If they go to the Apple Store, the App Store, or go on Google Play, you can download the Second Vote app, and it's 2NDVOTE, Second Vote. The app is a in your pocket, on the go shopping guide for conservatives. You can also get some news updates and some various other resources. But it's a great way to go when you're out shopping to say, hey, I haven't heard of this retailer before. Am I at the Gap? Well, the Gap is a 1.9 liberal company, and the reason Gap scores that way is because our research shows they've contributed to members of the Coalition Stop Gun Violence, which is an organization. They oppose stand your ground laws. They oppose concealed carry. They are part of a business network that supports cap and trade policies. They've aligned themselves with organizations that support same-sex marriage. They've given to pro-abortion organizations. On various issues, GAP has taken very left-leaning stands. So you could use our app while you're out shopping at the mall and say, well, I don't know if I would go to the Gap, but you could also look at some other clothing retailers. Anthropology, for example, that's a neutral store. You could go down the entire list. Hanes brand, if you're at a Hanes outlet store, again, you could use the app and see Hanes is a neutral company. That's an ideal place for conservatives to spend their shopping dollars when it comes to apparel, or even for Christmas gifts and stocking stuffers.
Like I say, when you go to different stores, you can just use that app. That's how I mainly use Second Vote myself, is through the app, especially with me being on the road so much. I just go on the app and kind of see which ones, rate higher or lower to kind of make a more informed decision. I definitely think, a lot of people who are maybe hearing this for the first time, and they can go out there and maybe get the app and know exactly where your money is going when you make a purchase at any one of these stores. So, Robert, appreciate you coming on, and like I said, hopefully people will take advantage of this resource and make some smart conservative decisions.
Yeah, Brian, it's been a real pleasure on my end as well, and I appreciate the opportunity to tell your listeners about what Second Vote does. And I, again, invite all of them to come see us at secondvote.com and come see our research and share it with your friends. We want people to engage on social media to spread these resources and show your friends and followers, hey, this is what companies are actually doing. And the more of us that get involved, Second Vote has 350,000 followers around the country right now. The more people who get involved, the greater impact we're going to have. And we've seen results in the past. We've seen how companies have had to respond. Because of Second Vote's research, we've had 5 companies say, we no longer have any financial relationship with Planned Parenthood. That's AT&T, Coca-Cola, Ford, Xerox, and Macy's. All these corporations, because people have reached out. People have looked at Second Vote's research, reached out to these companies, and these companies have said, well, wait, we don't do that anymore. And if it wasn't for individuals like your listeners reaching out to these companies, who knows? These companies might still be involved with Planned Parenthood. And so it's the power of the wallet. It's also the power of information.
All right. Thanks, Robert, for your time.
Yep. Thanks, Brian. Merry Christmas.
Yep, and thanks to Robert for joining us. And that's it. I hope everyone got something out of that, and hopefully you'll go out now and go out, make your Christmas shopping, and make some, like I said, some wise conservative decisions out there. So hope you all enjoyed that, and that's it. And until next week, we'll chat with you later.